Hello and welcome to the tutorial series. This is part 2 of the combat tutorial series. I was meant to record this before, but then I got busy and my computer's been kind of dying on me recently. So I didn't really have a chance to do it, but I've managed to do it now. So I've turned off the combo system for now just to show you what we've got. But we've got a hit reaction system that works from left, right, etc. Everything works as it should. And we've also got a motion warping, so if I hit this guy over here but then look at this guy, I'm going to warp to this guy, etc. Kind of like a free flow system. But yeah, everything's working as it should, and let's get started. There's two things that I actually changed while not on video, and the first one is if we go to our BP enemy, I've gone to capsule component, typed in collision in the details section, and just where it has melee trace, yours will be block. Just put that to ignore. And then for the mesh on this side bit here, this components panel, just go type in collision again. It'll be already be typed in, and just put melee trace to be block. So every time we, oh, didn't mean to do that. Every time we hit the enemy, we actually get the point and it hits the mesh instead of hitting the capsule, just to make it more accurate. So yeah, the next thing that I did, actually, no, we're going to do that together. So you'll see in the event graph, we've got this take damage function set up. What we want to do is go to our BPI damage. So I've got it open, but what we can do is press Control P, and that'll get the open asset menu, and then just type in BPI damage. Double click that, and we have this function here that we created. So basically what we want to do is we want to add a new input, and let's get the vector, and let's just call this impact point, and compile and save. That's all we have to do for that. So then we can come over to our combat system. Let me just tidy these up. I've already done it once, so I'm just gonna refresh this. Actually, we don't really need the print string. So on our take damage, it should look like this. We have our damage amount coming from our current weapon held variable. But now you'll see we have this impact point. And for this, we can just get the impact point from the hit result and plug that in. And that will mean that we can get this impact point at any time that this function is called on an actor, say the enemy or whatever actor we hit. So if we go back over to our BP enemy, now you'll see we have impact point here. I'm just going to right click that and go promote to variable. And we're going to call it damage impact point. And we'll just connect that up. Oh, make everything look neat and tidy. And there we go. So next thing we're going to have to do is we're going to have to come over here, and do I have it already put in? Yeah. You might not have it already put in. I don't know if we did that at the end of the last video, but I'm just going to type in on hit, and we're going to do, oh no, I don't need to do that actually. No, we'd already had it. Okay, so next thing we're going to do is we're going to create our hit reaction function on this on hit thing, this on hit custom event. But I'm actually going to come down here and I'm going to make my own custom event, and I'm going to call this get hit reaction, what should call it, direction. Yeah, that should do. So the first thing we need to do in our get hit reaction direction function is we're going to right click and get actor forward vector. There we go. And next we're going to right click on return value and just promote that to a variable so we can save that value and use it again in the future. I'm just going to call it current forward vector. There we go. Plug that in. The next thing we want to do is we want to get our impact point. Get impact point. And we're just going to right click and go split struct pin. so we can have all the values separately. And then what we're going to do is we're going to create a new vector, and we're going to call it lowered hit location, or lowered to hit location, and we're going to change that type to a variable, not a variable, a vector. And then we're going to drag this in, and we're going to set it, and then we're going to right click, and we're going to split struct pin. And then we're just going to get actors location, get actor location, yeah. We're going to split that as well. And then the impact point X is going to go to our X location, Y to Y, and then for the Z, we're going to get our actor location and just plug in the Z to there. And that is it for now. Next thing we want to do is we want to get our lowered hit location. We're going to subtract, and now we're going to get our actor location again. And then what we're going to do is we're going to normalize. And then we're going to promote to variable. And let's call this to hit location. I suppose this lowered hit location isn't the correct name, so I'm just going to change that. I'm going to press F2 to rename it. I'm going to put it lowered impact point. Okay, so next we're going to plug that in. And now it's time to do some dot product. So we're going to get our current forward vector, get our to hit location. We're just going to get the dot product of those two and hook them up. And then we need to get a cosine. And make sure you choose degrees. And then we're just going to promote that to a variable and set it as theta. Next, we need to use cross product. So we're going to go current forward vector and our to hit location and just drag off and put cross product. After we've done that, we're going to promote that to a variable. So right click on the return value, promote it to a variable, just call it cross product. Next, we're going to get a branch, and we're going to drag in our cross product, and we're just going to right click and split struct pin. And then we're going to drag off the Z and put a less than sign and see if the Z is less than 0. Connect that to the condition. And then if it is, we need to get our theta, times that or multiply that by -1, so we give the negative value. And then we need to get theta again, and we need to set it. And that's coming off of true of the branch. Set it to that value. And then what we can do is we get print string. Let's get our theta and just plug that into there. And make sure to come off of false. I'm actually going to come down here. I'm going to type in reroute. I'm going to do the same thing here. So reroute. And then I'm going to plug that into our print string. So no matter what, we always print string. But we only set our theta to a negative value when we are going from true. And now if I compile, actually no, we need to come to our on hit custom event, and let's just type in get hit reaction direction, and compile, and then we should be able to come and play. And if I hit him from this side, it's negative, and then I hit him from this side and it's positive. So yeah, next we need to actually play an animation, which we're going to use an Enum for. So let's get on to that. Okay, so the first thing we need to do is open up our content browser. We'll go to Game, Blueprint, Enums, and I've already got the Enum, but we'll create it again. So I'm going to come over here and right click, go to Blueprint, Enumeration, and then I'm just going to call this E-hit direction. And double click that to open. We're going to add 4 enumerators. First one's going to be front. Second one's going to be back. Third one's going to be right. And fourth one's going to be left. And then press save. And then we are ready to create a effects manager. Okay, so what we want to do is go back into our content browser, go to Game, Blueprint, Components, and then let's right click and create a new Blueprint class. We're going to have type actor component, and then let's just type in BPC effects manager. Let's double click that to open. And what I'm actually going to do is I'm going to come over here, I'm going to get hit reaction, and I'm going to it like so. I'm just going to cut this, and we're going to create a custom event. Or could we make a function actually? Maybe that would be better. Create a function. Call this get hit reaction direction. Yeah. And then just paste that in. And this isn't going to work straight off the bat. But what we can actually do is change these actor, forward vector, actor location, etc. and create variables. So we're going to just, first of all, I'll just go through it from left to right. So instead of get actor forward vector, we're going to get owner. And then we're going to plug that into there. Compile, that gets rid of that error. Same thing over here. So we're just going to get owner again. Compile. For this current forward vector, all we need to do is right click and create variable. Compile. For impact point, same thing, right click, create variable. In fact, we don't want to create that variable, so I'm going to delete that. What we really need to do is go over to our function, click on the purple node, and then add a input, and let's call that impact point, and change the type to vector. And then we can right click and actually get impact point as a variable. This is this variable, but when we right click and type it in, we can just get it itself. And we're going to split struct pin again and put x to x and y to y. And that is done. Then we're going to create the variable lowered impact point. Compile. Get actor location. All we need to do is get owner before it. Or to hit location, the same thing. Create variable. Compile. Theta, same thing. Create variable. Compile. Cross product. Create variable. Compile. And that should do it. So this should work the exact same way. So if we come to BP enemy, let's find our function. First off, we need to come to our component panel and we need to type in BPC effects manager and just add that in. Not sure why it's gone up there and not in the components tab, but I don't know if that's a glitch. But anyway, it shouldn't really matter. So what we need to do is go to BP enemy, and instead of get hit reaction direction, we get our effects manager, and then get hit reaction direction from there. And then let's get our impact point variable and connect it to there. And if we go into the game, we should be able to hit him. And yeah, we see our numbers come up in our print string. Yeah, so everything's working. And all that means is, so we've got an effects manager now. So whatever enemy we have, we can put on the effects manager component and use all these effects, all these systems. They're all modular, so you don't have to create them for each one. You can just have a, delete that, you can just have a take damage and a on hit event, and then it actually runs through the effect system to decide what we want to do. So next we need to choose our enum direction and play a montage accordingly. So let's do that. Okay, so we are going to set up the enum direction now. So let's go into our effects manager, and I've already created a function, but I'll delete it and start again. So let's go to functions, and we're going to type in set hit reaction. Actually, no, set hit direction enum. Just call it that, and then what we are going to do is we're going to go to our variables, create a new variable, and we're going to call it hit direction enum. And if you click the type, you want to type in E hit direction and set it as that. And now basically we're just going to see what angle it is that we are hitting the enemy and set the enum accordingly. So what we're going to want to do is we're actually going to want to get our theta, and we're going to do greater than or equal to minus 45. Oh. And then we're going to pull off this, and we're going to get a and boolean. And then we're going to get theta again, and we're going to check if it's less than 45. And from this, we're going to just hold B and left click, and we'll get a branch. Just plug that all in. And if that is true, we get our hit direction enum, and we're going to set it, and we're going to leave that on front. Next, we're going to get the left direction, so we're going to get theta, and we're going to do greater than or equal, oh, didn't mean to press that, greater than or equal to minus 135. And again, and boolean, and then we're going to get theta again. We're going to see if it is less than minus 45. So we're going to check if it's greater than or equal to minus 135 and less than minus 45. And if it is, we're going to get another branch. Going to connect this branch into the false pin of our last branch. So this will mean that if this is true, this will run. If not, we carry on with our calculations. We go to this branch. If this is true, we're going to set our hit direction enum to left. And then we're going to do this one more time. So we're going to get theta. We're going to see if it's greater or equal to 45. Going to get an and boolean. And then we're going to get theta again. We're going to do a less than node and see if it is less than 135. If it is, we get a branch, connect that condition, connect that to the false, and then get hit direction enum, set it, but we're going to set this to right. And then if none of these are valid, we're going to come from our false, we're going to get hit direction enum again, and we're just going to set it to back, like so. And then what I'm going to do is I'm just going to right click at the end, I'm going to do a print string node. We're going to get a hit direction enum, and we're just going to plug that into there so we can debug. And then all of these enum nodes, we're just going to connect into our print string, so our print string will always run no matter what. Compile it, and then in the BP enemy, I've actually come over to on hit. I've got the impact point, and I've just done a draw debug sphere and changed these settings. This is just to debug, so I'll actually show you how to do that just in case you don't know. I think you should really know by this point if you're doing this tutorial, but yeah, so we just get our impact point, get a draw debug sphere, and connect that up. Gonna get the radius, I'm just gonna put 5. Line color, whatever you want. Duration 5, thickness do 3. And then at the end of our on hit, we are gonna bring in our effects manager and we're just gonna get set hit direction enum. We're eventually going to have one function that controls all of this, that you can toggle different effects on and off. But for now, we're just going to do it like this. And then save. So if I come over here, you'll notice, for starters, that if I attack, it doesn't seem right. Look, front there, even though it's from the left, back. And this is basically because of my animation. So if I end that, so I've actually gone through on the effects manager and I've changed some of the values just to accommodate my animations that I'm using. So I've done, for the first ones, minus 45 greater than or equal to, or less than 30. Changed it to 30 from, it would have been 45. And then for theta greater than or equals to minus 50, minus 150, and then I've left the less than. Theta for the next one is greater than or equals to 30 or less than 150, and that's it. But you shouldn't have to change yours. This is just how my animations work because I'm doing a lot. If you see, to do a sword swing, it actually starts from very far on the left and ends very far on the right. So I was actually coming here and attacking, but my sword would be landed on the front. So I've just changed the values a little bit to accommodate the sides more. So now, if I hit him, that's left. If I hit him from this side, right, back, and front. So yeah, that is working. So now we just need to actually play a montage. So we're going to do that in the effects manager. But first of all, we're going to come to our event graph. Actually, we're going to do a function. No, we're going to do a custom event. Because then we can use timelines if needed. Custom event, play, hit, reaction. And all we're going to do for this is, before we do anything for this, actually, we're going to create a function. We're going to call the function play effects. Let's call it play effects. Okay, so now we've got this function. What we need to do is actually click on the function itself and have an input of should hit react question mark and put a boolean. Okay, so in our play effects function again, we need to get an input again, and we're going to call this hit reaction impact. Oh, I'm just going to type that again, keep everything in the same format. Hit reaction impact point. We're going to have this as type vector. Now in our event graph, we need to go to play hit reaction, and we need to get input, and we're going to just type in the same hit reaction impact point as type vector, and then we're going to get our hit reaction direction, and we're going to plug that into our impact point, and we're going to set hit direction enum straight away after. And then in our play effects, what we're going to do is we're going to come off here, we're going to get a branch, and we're going to have the should hit react as the result of that branch. And if we should hit react, then we're actually going to get our custom event, which was, what did we call that? Play hit reaction. So play hit reaction. So that's true. And get the impact point. And actually, I'm not going to connect it like this. I'm actually going to right click and put hit reaction impact point and get it as a variable. Get it as a variable node. And now we can go to our enemy and delete these. We can actually get our effects manager and put play effects. Connect that up. Put should hit react as true and get our impact point. and put it into the hit reaction impact point. And then we can go to our game and we can test if it's still working. See? Yeah, front, right, everything's working, just as it should. Left, yeah, everything's working. And what this means is, so if I come back to our effects manager, actually our enemy, is, so when we have effects such as, should the camera shake when a enemy is hit, or anything, we can just have this long list of checklists, basically. So do you want this to hit react, but then you may want something to play camera shake but not hit react. So you don't have to have loads of nodes and be getting confused and adding different things in. You can just have one node that controls your entire effects for basically every hit actor that you can do. Maybe you want custom effects for some actors that you don't want to clog this up, so then you'd make a custom function. But for all your base effects such as time slowing down, camera shake, etc., you can put it all in one function, and then you can just toggle them on and off depending on your usage. So it's really simple. And okay, so now what we're going to do is we need to go to event graph and we need to find our begin play. And what we need to do is get owner, and then we need to cast to character. And we're just going to right click and promote that to variable, and we're going to call it character ref. Go down to the on the event graph and go to custom event, play, hit, react, montage. So what we're going to do in our play hit react montage is we're just going to pull off and we're going to get a play montage node. And for the skeletal mesh component, we're going to get a character ref, and then we're going to drag off and put mesh, get mesh, and plug that in. And then for the montage to play, we're actually going to want to create 4 variables. So we're going to add the plus button, and I'm going to call this front hit reaction montage. And we're going to change this type to Enum montage, and make sure you do this before adding the 3 other ones we're going to do, because now we can just plus in the variables and the type has stayed the same. Let's call this one back hit reaction montage. Add another one, right hit reaction montage, and then finally we're going to have one more, and it's going to be left hit reaction montage. There we go. And now we've got these 4 variables. We're going to want to make sure that each of these are instance editable. And then this way, all we need to do is go from montage to play, and we'll get a select node. And this is going to ask for a wildcard, or basically something it can get values from. So we're going to get our hit direction enum and put that in, and you'll see our hit direction enum values are now here as options. And all you're going to do is get our variables, the front reaction to front, back to back, and so on. Left to left, right to right, and we are done with that custom event. Now, if we come over to our BP enemy, you'll see if we click on Effects Manager, we've actually got these as a option to set in our enemy, and we can do that for any enemy we want. But first of all, just to make sure we don't crash, I'm going to go over to Effects Manager, and before we do any of this, I'm just going to get the character ref, and I'm going to get an is valid node, because we don't want to do this if the object is not a character. Say we've got this play effects on some kind of object that you could break or whatever. So yeah, and for now I'm just going to put these into categories. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put data space, and then I'm going to put this little vertical line, I'm not sure what it's actually called, and then no spaces in between anything actually. Data, no space, and then let's put hit reaction. and we're just going to put all these inside of hit reaction, all these to hit location, theta, cross product, hit direction, enum, and then we're going to leave character reference out of it. And then for these ones, we're actually going to do, I should have done actually, I've done that the wrong way around. So ignore that. What I'm going to do is I'm going to create another one. I'm going to have the first word as hit reaction, then the vertical line, and then data, so we can keep everything in the same place. And we're going to drag everything we just done into there. And then we're going to just get these montages. I'm going to come over here. I'm going to type in hit reaction as a category, vertical line, montages, like so. And we're going to throw all the montages inside this category. So now everything's nice and neat. We can just go like this. And if we come back over to our enemy and we have a look, oh, well, that's not refreshed. I don't know why that is. Oh, we still got one in data, that's why. Oh, no we don't. I'm not sure why that's giving it like that. With the current forward vector and that, and the montages in that one. No sense. Let me just try and reopen that. And come over to our effects manager. No, that's weird. Very weird how that's split into two. Shouldn't have done that on yours. If it has, I don't know why. That might just be a bug, but I'm just going to have to deal with it for now. But yeah, so now we can actually set up our montages. But first we need to come over to our effects manager, and let's just go to play effects. And after play hit reaction, actually on play hit reaction, we're just going to type in our play hit react montage. Like so. On our play hit reaction custom event. Sorry if I'm going a little bit too fast for people. This is my first real tutorial that I've ever done. So I'm still getting the hang of things, and obviously we'll eventually get better at explaining and getting to the educational side of things. But yeah, so now what we need is we need actual montages to play hit reacts. So I'm going to open up the content drawer. I'm going to go to my animations and I'm going to find some animations to use. I'm just going to go katana. Doesn't really matter what animations you use. You'll use whatever you're doing for your game specifically. But they need root motion. That's all that's important. Let's go to hit, root. And let's see. So we've got hit large, A pose, hit large 1, hit 2, hit. Where's left? Let me just see this forward one. Yeah, that'll work. So I'm actually going to right click this and I'm going to retarget animations. And let's just find our samurai. Oh wait, actually no. We need our Mani simple. Yeah. And we're going to type in the assets hit, react, or hit. There we go. And we're going to get hit B, hit F, hit L, and hit R, all root motion. Obviously yours will be different, but just make sure to hit root motion. And I'm going to go game. I'm going to right click, make a new folder, call this animations. Put another folder called Mani. And then hit reactions. And I'm going to export all of those. If I double click them. Yep, everything's working as it should. So now what we can do is we just need to create a montage for all of those. So if I go and head over to the folder that they're in, and then I'm just going to right click on all of them and create add in montage. I'm going to put hit, I'm going to put Mani hit B. do the same for all of them. Money hit F. Money hit L. And money hit R. And now we should be able to go to our BP enemy, and in our variables, I'm going to put the front hit reaction montage as money hit F, back as money hit B, right as money hit right, and left for left. And now, if everything's working as it should be, we should be able to come over and attack him. Oh, that's not gone exactly how it's supposed to. That's right. So it is moving. Let me see if he's... Okay, so he's actually not facing forward as he should be. That's why I'm getting confused. So that's actually facing forward. So if I come over to him now, hit him. He's going to the right. That's where my sword landed. If I hit him from the front. Oh. It's these animations that are actually... Yeah, there we go. Back. They're just hitting him at different places. Left. So yeah, it's all working as it should be. Front. And there we go. So now we actually have our enemy responding to our hits. I'm going to come over and go to my combat system and plug in my next combat section again. And come over and let's just do some combos on him. But it's hard to because I haven't got the motion warping in. Okay, so it's actually quite hard to hit him without the motion warping because of the way the animations are. So what we're going to do is we're going to do motion warping right now. First of all, what we need to do is we need to go to Edit, Plugins, and we're going to type in motion warping. And we're just going to select that, press yes, and we need to restart. So let's restart. Save selected. Okay, so now we're back in the editor. We will have motion warping enabled. But first of all, we need to go up to here, go to our third person character and just edit it. Or if you don't want to do that, you can always go into your content browser, game, blueprint. Actually, no, it's in content, characters. Where did we put our blueprint actually? Blueprint. Where is that? Or if you don't want to do that, you can actually open up the browser, go to content, third person, blueprint, and find your character there. Or another way to do it, if you didn't see it before, is Control P, third person, and find it in this list here. But anyway, what we need to do is come to components and press add, and put motion warping, and add a motion warping. And this will just enable it for our character. So next what we need to do is we need to go to our attack animations. So we can find it in here, or again, Control P. I'm going to put AM light, and it should come up with our light attacks. Oh, apparently not. What did we call our attack combo? I'm just going to put AM combo. Yeah, AM combo 1, I called it. And we are met with this here. So what we need to do is actually go to our notifiers. I'm going to add a new track. I'm going to call it motion warping. We're going to right click on that. We're going to add notify state. We're going to go to motion warping. As you'll see, by enabling that plugin, we actually get an option. And we're just going to go from the minute he starts attacking. Just zoom this in a little bit. To the point where it's probably going to be connecting. So about there. What we need to do is go over to this side bit on the right and go to config. Open root motion modifier, and we've got a list of settings here to change. So warp target name, I'm just going to call this attack because it's always going to be the attack warp and it's easy to remember. Capital at the start, you don't have to, but you need to make sure that you get this exactly right when we're writing it down later. Next, what we need to do is we need to ignore Z-axis. We don't want to be flying upwards at people. and we need warp rotation on. I'm going to change rotation type to facing. Sometimes it works better with default, sometimes it works better with facing, but I'm just going to call it as facing for now. And that's all we need to do for the motion warping and the animations. So I'm just going to copy that and oh, it won't let me paste it for some reason. There we go, paste. And I'm just going to do it for each combo we've got. So I'm going to find where I start moving here. About there. Find where it would hit. I'm going to put it about there. And there we go. On to the next one. Paste. Find where we start moving. There. And there. And then we actually go in for a second one here. So I'm going to paste it again. There. And then there. And then on, I think this is the last one. Yeah. Where do we start moving? So we start moving here. Paste. And go to about there. Let's just go just before the combo window. And that should be it for the animations. So next we actually need to tell our character to warp to the place we need to attack. So what we're going to do is we're going to come over to our, let's do it in our combat system. So I'm going to get there, edit open combat system, and let's just type in functions, add a new function, and type in motion warp to attack target, like so. And we're going to pull off of this, and we're going to get a sphere trace by channel. And what we're actually going to do is we're going to set it to our melee trace, because we don't want to motion warp to anything we can't melee trace. So now we've done that. We're going to get our start position by going to the side and right clicking and get owner. Ooh. And then get actor location. We're going to get actor location. We're going to just put that into the start. And then from here, we're going to get owner again. Get actor forward vector. Actually, we don't want owner. What we actually need is, oh, we do want get owner, but then we want drag off that get component or by class. We're just going to get the camera component. And this will only work if on our, let me pull up our third person character. So we've only got one camera component, and it is of type camera component, not a cine camera or a gameplay camera. So this, if we want to use a cine camera, we just type in cine camera, gameplay camera, etc. And if we've got more than one camera component, you could go get display name, and then we could do a is equal to, oh, that didn't work, equal exactly, and then you type in the name of this and do a branch, and then if it was true you do the rest, but we don't need that if you are following along just from my tutorial. Sorry about that, my computer actually fully crashed. I don't know why, but yeah, so we don't actually need any of those things that I've just done. So we're going to get forward vector from the camera and put that, actually we're going to go from get actor location, we're going to have a add, and then from get forward vector we're going to do multiply. We're going to right click and we're going to change that to a float, and I'm actually going to promote this to a variable. I'm going to call it warp trace distance. And I'm going to put that as a default of 500 for now. And then plug that into the addition and plug that into the end. And then for the radius, I'm actually going to promote that to a variable as well. I'm going to put warp trace radius. Compile, and let's give that a default value of 200. And now we're going to just put the draw debug type as for duration for now. And let's go over to our event graph. And let's just put it on our play light combo attack, since we do want to warp there. And let's just type in motion warp attack target after our switch onto none. So now when we attack, we see that we've got a sphere going straight in front of us. It won't activate or hit anything. If I come over here, see it turns green because we've seen an enemy. And then after that, what we need to do is, because we've got an enemy, we basically need to get the out hit. Let's just go actually a branch from return value, plug that into there and get our out hit and break it. And then true, we want to actually get owner. Then we need get component by class. Let's get a motion warping component. And then pull off of that and add or update warp target from location. In fact, we could do get add warp and from location and rotation. Let's change the warp target name to attack. And for the target location, we're going to get the hit actor. Or we're going to get actor location. And the hit actor again, and get actor rotation. And this should work, but we may need to change this location and rotation depending on if it rotates correct. So let's see if it works. Oh, no. Oh, yeah, we did do the animations. Okay, so let's see if this works. Yep. So that's obviously aggressive, but you'll see that the motion warping is working quite well. So from wherever we are, we will turn and hit the enemy. And obviously it is moving him left and right a lot, but that is just literally where my animations are hitting him. But now we can combo him. So let's actually go to our combat system and just turn off our debug so it's not as in our face. And we could come over here and hit him, basically. And no matter what, we're always going to move to him. And that is annoying me how he keeps clipping through our camera. So to fix that, we can just go BP enemy, go to capsule, collision, make sure camera is ignore, and let's do the same on mesh. So camera ignore, and now that should not clip through him. Yep. So that is basically it for motion warping. So if I had multiple enemies around, we're actually going to want to come over to our combat system, and let's just change the radius from 200 to 75 because it is a little bit too big. But now we can actually look at, we can fight him. And whatever enemy we're looking at, we will jump to. Obviously, this is very aggressive. You can change your radius, your distance, but this just makes it so the combat feels fluid. You don't really have to... It's not like a Souls game where you'd have to try and place your attacks, etc. This is more like an action combat game. But yeah, so we've got motion warping. But as you notice, if we come over here and attack, we'll fly back to the same point we were before, which we do not want. So what we're going to do is actually on our combat system, if we go to our light attacks, just before we motion warp to attack target, we're actually going to, or should we do, yeah, so let's change that from, let's go into our motion warp to attack target instead. We're going to come over here, I'm just going to copy and paste these two, the get owner and get component by class, so the motion warping, copy that, paste them there. And then we are going to drag off and we're just going to put clear. Actually, no, remove all warp targets. Let's just do that right at the start of the function. So now when we attack, should be able to attack someone. And then we should be able to run over here. Press attack, yeah, and we're not warping back to the attack target anymore. It's been cleared. Come back over here and we can attack. So yeah, that's pretty fun. Next, what we want to do is probably add a little bit of camera shake. Yeah, it's pretty fun hitting the guys around. So that's all I'm going to do in this tutorial. We've done the hit reaction and we've done the motion warping. And I think it's going to come to about an hour. So I'll do on the next tutorial, I'm going to do things like time slowing down and screen shake, maybe a red flash when you hit them. But yeah, so tune in for the next one, and I'll see you then.